Hi, my name is Mark Gallucci. I'm the Global Training Manager with Digital Control Incorporated. Today we're going to go through the calibration of the TensiTrak pressure monitoring and pullback force monitoring device. So we're about to calibrate it. I want to make one point. We're going to calibrate it here in a clean environment. The job site where we're going to take this a little bit later is not a clean environment. So we've very specifically gone to a clean environment. We checked the area for both background noise and any kind of active interference so we get a good clean calibration. So let's point out a few things on this TensiTrak monitoring device. On this side we've got the actual, right here, that's the piece that's going to monitor your fluid pressure. Now when we set this up and we hook this onto the reamer a little bit later, this is going to be the trailing end. We don't want that end getting plugged full of muck and whatever else might be in the downhole. So that's going to be the trailing piece. On the other side is our battery connection. Now there's two options for the batteries that we can put in here. One, this is a 3 D-cell set of alkaline batteries. They're both shrink wrapped and soldered together. This is probably going to be what you're going to use most of the time. They're a bit less expensive and they typically do a very nice job, especially if you've got a nice pre-reamed hole. These batteries will be just fine. On the occasion when you're going through especially rocky ground or rough terrain pulling through, maybe you haven't pre-reamed as nicely as some holes are, we're going to use this one-piece lithium battery and we're going to put into this little connection device, this adapter piece. Take your lithium battery, put it in, slide it in, and then we're going to put this whole assembly down, nipple in first. Then you tighten your end cap. But today we don't need that. We know we're going to have a very nice clean hole, pre-reamed a couple of times. So I'm just going to use my regular alkaline battery set. Once again, we put it in. I'm going to put in the nipple in first, the positive in first. Put it in. Take your end cap, get her started. Now I've got a nice wide blade screwdriver. The wide blade will make it easier for you to do. And tighten that in all the way up. Get the thread started straight, and you want to sink that as deep as it'll go. This is an O-ring seal, and if you don't snug it up all the way, you're not going to get the benefits of the O-ring seal, and that's certainly important. So cinch it up nice and tight, it's flush. Now we're ready. A couple things I want to point out. I've loaded the batteries. I've just started this thing. There is no load on this device. And because there is no load on, I've now started it at 0. Yeah, I've just set the calibration for that at 0. Had we done this with some kind of pull force load on it, your 0 wouldn't be 0. It would be whatever the pull force that was on it at the time you loaded the battery. So it's important that you load the batteries with no force being applied to this device, and you're going to get your accurate pull force calibration. So now we're going to set this thing up. I don't know if you can see, I've got my 10-foot tape measure. I'm going to set this thing up. 10 foot goes to the inside, right down the middle of this. The other thing we're going to point out is that the receiver, or the TensiTrak device, has the pulling eyes. They're horizontal. The holes are going up and down. You do not want to calibrate like that. You want to calibrate like this, and you're going to get a cleaner signal and a more accurate calibration. So, tape measure is to the middle of this thing. Now we're going to pick up and we're going to go over here. We're going to go work on the F5 receiver, and we're going to actually calibrate this device so we can use it later on today. So here's my F5 receiver. My tape measure is already on the ground. I'm going to find exactly 10 foot as I have right here. For those of us using metric, it's going to be a 3 meter, and it's the inside edge of the receiver. It's the inside edge of the receiver, spot on your calibration distance. So one thing we want to verify now, we want to make sure that we told this handheld receiver which transmitter to look for. So we go to the transmitter selection menu right here. I've got a myriad of choices I can grab. I need to grab the TensiTrak option. That's the lower middle of the bottom menu. Click it. I've just now told this handheld receiver to look for the TensiTrak device. Now we need to calibrate it. Very simply, you go to the calibration menu, click it. You go to the calibration menu, which is right upper right corner of the main menu. Click it. You get two options here. You get a 1-point, 2-point calibration. Always select the 1-point calibration. You highlight it with the thumb switch here. I've now highlighted 1 point. Click it. And now I get a nice icon that really specifies how the orientation should be. Once again, inside edge to the middle of the TensiTrak device. You've got that set up. We know we do. I've got a green check here on my display. You like the way it's set up? And we do. Click the trigger. Takes a couple of seconds. It's measuring its signal strength. It's converting that signal strength to 10 foot or 3 meters, forevermore. So now we're calibrated. It's just that simple. Whenever I go underground with any device, I like to go back and I like to verify my calibration. And that just means let's move it to any other position on the tape. Later on today, we'll probably be going to about 6 foot. So I'm going to slide this into 6 foot, and I'm going to verify it. That's what it reads. Here we are at 6 foot. And sure enough, my receiver says 6 foot. So I feel pretty good about this. I'm ready to go. And again, we purposely did not calibrate on our job site because we knew it was an interference-filled environment. We got away from the job site. We found a clean area, no background interference, and no passive interference underground or above ground. The final point I would like to make, before we collect all our gear up and head back to the job site, I'm going to take the batteries out of this, okay? Because I want to conserve the batteries in there, and there's no need to have it in there while we're driving back to the job site. Removing the batteries from that, I have not lost calibration. I will still have a good, accurate calibration regardless whether I take those batteries out or not.